Well, I fully accept that this is a terrible look. I left a lot of sensible clothing in the car, and I'm reduced to wearing a ridiculous green shirt and an Astana puffer jacket that was surplus to requirements from DSP Kenya. It's not a great look, is it?
No, that's great. You love it. Suits your style.
I don't know what to make of that. Enough about my clothing. What about today's race? It was both good and bad.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. I mean, I think went into it, there were good spirits from Tadej Pogacar and Jonas Vingegaard. Jonas Vingegaard was announcing that he was going to risk his second place, and it looked like that was the plan on Madeleine. And Visma Lease bike rode a great race. Trek Lidl simplified things for everybody by keeping the whole race together.
Lidl Trek as well.
Lidl Trek. I've fallen into the trap of our co-commentators.
You've literally got that from Pete.
So tired out. And then the Madeleine, they lit it up, and they did a great ride. Roglic has slipped off the front, but then it just all fizzled out slightly for the GC race.
Yeah, it looks so good. It looked like Visma Lease bike were repeating what they did on Mont Ventoux, but it was weird, wasn't it? So they got off the Madeleine, they put pressure on Tadej Pogacar on the descent, and it all looked like the right thing to do, and it looked like it might possibly yield a result as well. And then they got to the Valley Road and they stopped riding. So Mathieu Jorgensen looked at Felix Gall and said, "Are you going to ride?" Well, I'm going to ride. And everything stalled. And from the moment that all the groups came together again, the whole race went into its shell.
Yeah, I mean, Ben O'Connor saw the moment and seized it. It was his
brilliant.
attack that happened shortly after Jorgensen and Felix Gall made that point of neither of them were going to ride, and Ben O'Connor thought, "I'm going." I find it amazing that had been the breakaway with Roglic, which was a little bit unexpected, that got caught by the two best climbers in the world. And Ben O'Connor decided, well, it's not over yet, I'm going. And it seemed like mission impossible. And what he did. Then the GC race, because it effectively neutralised, and clearly there wasn't the firepower in the teams. Which, again, it goes to show how important teams are in the Tour de France, because without the strength and depth to then hammer the Col de la Loze, Vingegaard couldn't do anything. And ultimately, I don't think he was good enough to do it anyway.
He's such an interesting rider, Ben O'Connor, because he had the extended spell at the Vuelta last year in the red jersey, didn't he? Where it was like, oh, how seriously do we have to take him? And he was talking a good game, saying, I can win this race. But he does fall slightly between two stools, doesn't he? He's a stage hunter. Is he actually a GC rider? But I thought that was as good as I've ever seen him today.
Oh, when he does a ride like this, I mean, I think the recruitment from Jayco Alula was they were getting a rider. I mean, consistently he's amazing. And I think last year in the world rankings, he was up there with the best.
He was.
And so it was looking, I think, really like a disappointing Tour de France for Jayco Alula. And the ride Ben O'Connor did today was not only for Jayco Alula save their Tour de France, but also saved their belief and commitment to Ben O'Connor. So all round a fabulous ride.
But from a UK perspective?
Oscar Onley was just next level.
From a Scottish perspective?
From a Scottish perspective. I mean, what he did, I can't even remember if I've seen a rider stick with Pogacar and Vingegaard at a Tour de France stage in recent years, in the final.
Certainly not in this edition of the race. He's the only rider.
Yes, I mean, it's just. But I mean, the ride he did was very brave as well. The fact he got dropped with the majority of the riders when Vingegaard went to the Madeleine. Lipowitz was up the road, Roglic was up the road. It looks like his position was in jeopardy, and yet his team came to the rescue in the valley. Did one of the best moments of the Tour de France so far, watching Picnic Post just come flying by the yellow jersey group. And then he found a 18th wind and rode a fantastic race up the Col de la Loze.
And let's be honest, it gives us something massively to talk about in the days to come, hasn't it? Because the top end of the GC, that's done. I mean, the first two players done, isn't it?
But Lipowitz, what we saw today, he did crack. I mean, it was a slow death of 1,000 cuts, but that was definitely a ride, not the Lipowitz we've seen in the other mountain stages. No. So there'll be a seed of hope in the Picnic Post NL camp that perhaps Onley can get on the podium.
Wow. Well, that really would be quite something. It was quite something, though, for Ben O'Connor. Let's hear from the two-time stage winner of the Tour de France.
Ben, talk to us about the timing of, well, I guess, multiple moves today. The first one to get in the initial move and then at the bottom of the final climb and then leaving Rubio behind.
Yeah, on Glandon, I tried a lot, but actually came back and was kind of in the box. But I saw Felix and Primoz up the road, and it was just before you have this little descent midway through the climb. And I was like, oh no, just do it. Just get yourself there. I went through numerous bad moments in that first 3 hours on Glandon, and especially the bottom of Madeleine really was pretty close to pulling the pin. But these are days where you have to be just mentally resilient and trust yourself that you do get better. More calories, more kJs come, the better you're going to be by the end of the day. And just rely on that fact that when you have these big days, you are strong. So a bit of self-belief there. And yeah, really needed that today for myself and for the team.
All right, the very articulate Ben O'Connor, and describing what was probably the best moment of his entire career to date. Let's hear, though, from Oscar Onley, who was grabbed by a bunch of microphones, including Daniel Freeb's, moments after he'd crossed the line. And you'll have to bear with him because I think the lad was a little bit tired.
Oscar, was it a dark moment on the Madeleine, or did you manage to keep your cool and know that you could come back?
I wouldn't say I kept my cool, but I still felt good. Just I know at the level of those guys on the attack, and I think it showed at the end, that they went pretty hard up there.
The team did a great job for you.
Yeah, they were really good.
I think you're 22 seconds from the podium now. I mean, you must be excited, Oscar, going into the last mountain stage.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's it's not much. So we'll give it everything tomorrow.
Well, quite a few changes actually in the general classification. Ben O'Connor moving up into the top 10, but a long way down in GC. But the biggest move is, of course, Oscar Onley's, and around about half a minute. The terrain is there, if the legs are there, for Oscar Onley to do some damage.
Well, yeah, judging by his performance today, I think, but seeing how tired he is as well.
Sure.
It's so unpredictable at this point in the race, and it's a brave new world for Oscar Onley. So I think he'll be going in tomorrow, certainly not with an aggressive state of mind, but more of a opportunistic, do what he can state
See
of mind.
what happens,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
if he can move, then he moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a look a little bit later on at the profile of tomorrow's summit finish in the Alps. Let's answer your questions, though. In the meantime, Josh Brown says, hello all. Would Mads Pedersen have made any difference to Lidl Trek if he was brought to the Tour? Love your Tour content. It's the best. Thank you very much. Yes, Mads Pedersen makes a difference wherever he goes, doesn't he? He's an absolute monster.
But I think the only difference he'd have made would another stage win for them, because they're doing a great job.
Yeah,
I think.
But he would have been, the way he bossed the Giro d'Italia, he'd have been right in the mix of that opening week, wouldn't he?
He'd have been doing Quintessence.
The Boulogne stage, all
that's
those,
true.
he'd have been in the thick of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure he would. Andrea Löwenkopf, I think is how I pronounce your name, or Lowenkopf, I don't know. Question for Ned and David. Who do the best post-race analysis in your game? Miller, your answers are laser sharp.
Thank you.
Ned, don't go. How do you explain... I don't understand that.
No.
I'll take it as a compliment. Not sure it's intended as one. How do you explain Tadej's dominance 2020 to 2021 exceeded by Jonas's 2022 to 23, followed by Tadej's 2024 to Jonas injury the last 2 years? That's a lot of question there. How does a rider's level change that much?
I think Tadej's 2021 was done off a lot of raw talent, and perhaps going into 22-23 there was a slight 22 complacency. I think did not expect Jonas Vingegaard. 23 he was coming in injured, and then last year I think after 23 he just came back a new rider, changed his coach in the winter of 23, changed all his training, upped his game, and has come in a more developed rider.
And used last year the Giro as a training block for 3 weeks.
Exactly.
Matt Rowe says, I've got a long question. I remember a few years ago you mentioned that team staff sometimes take bits from the evening's hotel buffet to hand out to the riders the next day, like a parent would for a kid on an all-inclusive. This was to help with digestion due to the amount of protein gels riders consume. My question is, what is their technique? Napkin fold, handbag, beach towel? Or do they just act confidently in the, well, I've already paid for this kind of way, asking for a friend? What would
I
you
don't
do?
know.
Well,
Confidently.
it's a risky move. The amount of hotel buffets we do each year, you've got to be careful taking stuff from
They
the
don't
breakfast
really
buffet.
care, to be honest with you. It's easier for them if there's nothing left to clear up.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Gillian Johnson says, do riders win a stage but for some reason don't finish that particular tour still count that stage win on their palmares, or does a DNF nullify their win?
Ask Mario Cipollini.
He did that a fair amount.
Never finished Tour de France.
I also
And won multiple
don't
stages.
think Remco Evenepoel is going to have his stage
No.
victory taken away. No,
No.
they absolutely get to keep them even if they don't finish the race overall. Lady D. Ladash, can you explain Roglic and peeling oranges, please? Well, I can. This goes back to our podcast Never Strays Far in its first iteration a long time ago, where we had we found it amusing, comparison between riders in the Vuelta comparing them to gladiators. And Alaphilippe was wielding knives and doing all sorts of dangerous stuff, and Roglic was just waiting for him to wear himself out, sitting in the side of the Colosseum, peeling an orange. And that was an image that David Miller came up with, because his answers are laser sharp, and Ned, don't go. All right, let's have a look at tomorrow's stage. It's full of climbs and, most notably, very short.
Yeah, 129.9 kilometres, which actually counterintuitively makes it all the harder, because that makes for a shorter race, which means everyone can go flat out the whole time. And starting with the Cat 2, Cat 1, your category in the middle is nasty. Albeit not the highest mountain of the day, but that just goes to show how steep it is.
There's basically one climb, though, isn't
yeah.
it? The Col du Pré and the Cornet de Rosemont.
Yeah. So there's a lot to play for. Then the famous La Plagne finish, another all category. So tomorrow is actually a horrific mountain day.
Okay, let's see how the knockout voting is going for the greatest tall rider of all time. This is your choice. We've reached the semi-final stage. And on one side of the draw, we've got Eddie Merckx versus Mark Cavendish. And on the other side of the draw, David, Tadej Pogacar versus Bradley Wiggins. Any comments?
I feel that's a very biased selection. The competition lost me when Bradley Wiggins knocked out Jacques Anquetil, so I'm afraid I have a different opinion.
Feeling there's a bit of a GB bias in the voting public there, but vote for who you want. You can vote until Saturday, and then we'll have the results on Sunday. And we'll be back doing more of this tomorrow for stage 19.